You are watching Rajya Sabha Television. I am Smriti Rastogi. The Parliament's budget session 2019 will be held from January 31st to February 13th. And the Finance Minister Arun Jaitley will present the interim budget on 1st of February. This will be his sixth and last budget presentation under the current government before the 2019 general polls. The year 2018 has been full of turnarounds and startup stories. It's established that the startup ecosystem is gaining acceptance and has witnessed the rise of some serious startups news. In a nutshell, the year 2018 has been good for startups. While the year 2018 gave us an opportunity to witness and ponder upon many novel trends, it also taught us to strategize and plan for the year ahead. Now we all want to know what are the trends that will thrive and what should we keep a lookout for in 2019. In today's In-Depth, we will focus on the expectations of the startups from 2019 budget, the initiation and the idea of startups and their journey. Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced government's flagship Startup India initiative during his address from the Red Fort on 15th August 2015. On 16th January 2016, the Startup India Action Plan was launched. Since then, success stories of several young entrepreneurs have been scripted, with the government providing them a simplified process, hand-holding and initiatives.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi proclaimed the Startup India campaign in 2016 to boost entrepreneurship in India. The program has achieved considerable success in 3 years, with the government providing several benefits to startups in the form of tax cuts, easy license clearances and lesser regulatory interference. Since the launch of the program on 16 January 2016, several programs have been undertaken to transform India into a country of job creators instead of job seekers. First of all, the scope of startups have been widened. An entity shall be considered as a startup for up to 7 years instead of the earlier 5 years, and a biotechnology startup for up to 10 years. This has been done acknowledging the long gestation period for startups. The scope has been broadened to include scalable business model with high potential of employment generation or wealth creation. Additionally, no letter of recommendation from an incubator or industry association shall be required for either recognition or tax benefits. In order to create a conducive ecosystem for the growth of startups and provide them an equal platform vis-à-vis the experienced entrepreneurs or companies in public procurement, relaxed norms of public procurement for micro and small enterprises have been provisioned in the procurement policy of Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises. Compliance norms have been eased in order to reduce the regulatory burden on startups, allowing them to focus on their core business. Startup India Hub was operationalized on 1st April 2016 to resolve queries and provide hand-holding support to startups. In the last 3 years, the hub has handled more than 114,000 queries from startups through telephone, email and Twitter. Certain tax exemptions have also been given to startups. The Finance Act of 2016 had made provision for startups to get income tax exemption for 3 years in a block of 5 years, if they are incorporated between 1st April 2016 and 31st March 2019.
See, one of the first things government said was they'll give concessional finance. Then if a startup qualifies and is registered, then they also give tax write-offs. For this purpose, originally, the startup had to get registered through the ministry and then go through a committee, and there was a laborious process. But in the last month, we have realized that they have made it very easy, because once a startup is registered, and you don't have to have any actual work done. The registration means who are the technocrats involved, what is the subject involved, the sector involved, and who is going to fund you also. And they had all kinds of difficult procedures which have all been waived, all been made easy.
As per the Startup India Action Plan, more than 5,000 tinkering labs have to be established. Niti Aayog has selected 5,441 schools for establishing tinkering labs. Of these, 2,071 tinkering labs have received a grant in aid of 12 lakh rupees each. New incubation centers are being established under Atal Innovation Mission across India through financial support. The incubators would provide necessary infrastructure and assistance to startups in their early stages of growth. 8 research parks are also being set up under the Startup India initiative, with an objective to propel successful innovation through incubation and joint research and development efforts between academia and industry.
Our critical mission in that is the Atal Innovation Yojana. What it does is that there are these Atal Innovation Labs which have been set up in schools, and these are not just city schools. So what the government has done is that just as children learn to study, to play, children also learn the business of handling things by themselves and developing a sort of an idea. They don't develop a business, but they develop an idea of a breaking or creating a project, and at different levels as they go along in the classes. So children get used to the idea that you can create something, and this creation can possibly, by the time they come into the colleges, can actually also start in terms of giving them money yielding ideas. After all, that is startup all about.
The Startup India Yatra is being conducted to help entrepreneurs, especially from non-metropolitan cities, realize their startup dream. So far, Startup India Yatra has been conducted in 12 states. It aims to cover each and every district of the country. Since 2014, 22 states have formulated startup policies. And to foster competitiveness among them, State Startup Ranking Framework was launched in February 2018. Based on which states are working proactively to promote their startup ecosystems, the ranking was released in December 2018. Earlier this month, the country's largest startup ecosystem was inaugurated in Kerala. The 1.8 lakh square feet facility houses incubation setups across a string of segments in modern technology. The integrated startup complex under the Kerala Startup Mission includes the ultra-modern facilities of Maker Village that provides hardware startups, the Bio Nest that promotes medical technologies, Brink, which is the country's first international accelerator for hardware startups, Brick, which aids developing solutions for cancer diagnosis and care, and a center of excellence. The Maker Village, set up by the IIITMK in association with Kerala Startup Mission and supported by the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, houses 65 startups working in electronics hardware technologies. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
In the past 3 years, the Startup India initiative has helped many young entrepreneurs to start their own ventures and succeed. Under the scheme, financial help is given to those who wish to start a business, and at the same time, they are given tax rebate. Apart from this, the government offers several other types of exemptions under the Startup India. Let's understand the advantages associated with the Startup India program.
The idea behind the government's Startup India program in January 2016 was to create employment opportunities for the youth in the country. For this, the government also announced several concessions for new entrepreneurs under the Startup India program. These included an exemption from income tax on profits earned in the first 3 years of starting the business. In order to promote financing, the sale of their property was to be exempted from the capital gains tax of 20%. Under this, a provision for a liberal patent for new enterprises was also made. Other benefits included reduction in patent registration fees by 80%. Apart from this, if an entrepreneur wanted to leave the business, he or she could shut down her startup in a 90-day period. Innovation courses were started for students under Startup India, wherein the focus is on having 10 lakh students in 5 lakh schools. Exceptions have been made for government purchases under Startup India.
Major benefits are that they can start their venture with the innovative idea. If they have some idea, then they can implement in the market and they can start a business. And government is providing the support of tax exemption, like in this block of 7 years, they are exempted for the profits for the 3 years. So that is the major benefit, that they are not burdened with the tax environment at the time of their implementation of idea. That is number one. And number two, there is fund for startups. That is also very, very important for the startups that government is providing a fund allocation that is for the startups to benefit them and to support them in their business ventures. That is the support from the government. And third is the ease of doing business, that the government is undertaking a lot of reforms for the startups, like a single window system and their registration in few seconds. That is the facilitation from the government side, that the persons with the innovative ideas should grow and contribute significantly in the economic growth of India.
However, to take advantage of Startup India, it is necessary to meet the criteria set by the government. On a priority, it is mandatory to tell the number of jobs that would be created from a new startup.
Just as when the issue of information technology software started, people said this will not be a big employment generator. What we have seen, direct employment, indirect employment. If there's a company which has employed 1,000 people who are doing software work or outsourcing work, they'll have 10,000 support systems, people working in it, drivers, workers, everybody to support that edifice. So startups require less capital, less infrastructure, less roads, less investment, but only a concentrated kind of development in an ecosystem. They generate wealth, they generate excitement. All the Indians who are left our country and are in Silicon Valley or in Britain, they're working, a large number of them are hired for startups. So what is being done now is, why not give them a chance here so that they become people, not only employ themselves, they employ others. That's how you get employment.
Role of states in implementing Startup India is also vital, with the centre giving priority to Startup India. At present, 22 states are running the startup scheme, and the remaining states and union territories are working to introduce the program. An important role of the states is to reduce the regulatory burden on the startup founders, which can be promoted by simplifying the rules under the jurisdiction of the state. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And with that, we'll slip into a very short break. Stay with us.
Art arisen from a multi-hued cultural canvas. Tradition and cultural fervour dating back centuries. And encircling them all, there's a magic that awes. Embrace your nation's brilliant human warmth. Watch Colours of India, Sundays at 9:30 p.m. on Rajya Sabha Television.
The Nehru Trophy boat race of Kerala, popularly called Vallam Kali in local parlance. This historic boat race dates back to 1952, when Pandit Nehru visited the state and a pageantry of boats accompanied him from Kottayam to Alappuzha. The race, conducted on the second Saturday of August every year, is a major tourist attraction. It's generally the snake boats which participate in the race, and hence the shape of the winner's trophy is also a replica of a snake boat.
Wake up to a complete roundup of news from India and abroad. Politics, strategy, business, sports. Keen analysis to kickstart your day. Watch Breakfast News weekdays at 8 a.m. on Rajya Sabha Television.
Rabindranath Tagore was awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1913 for his book Gitanjali. In 1950, he composed the music and lyrics for India's national anthem, Jana Gana Mana. And when Bangladesh became independent in 1971, they chose Tagore's song, Amar Shonar Bangla, as its national anthem. Tagore's life and works have made him a cultural icon, studied the world over, even into the 21st century.
Tales that inspire. Stories of social change. A salute to diversity. Promoting public discourse. Events that motivate. Inspiring the innovative spirit. Watch Rajya Sabha television documentaries.
One of the most influential revolutionaries of Indian freedom struggle, Shahid Bhagat Singh. Born into a Sikh family, patriotism flowed in his blood at the age of 13. When he formed Naujawan Bharat Sabha to spread the message of revolution in Punjab. In the wake of avenging Lala Lajpat Rai's death, Bhagat Singh and his associates coined the catchphrase Inqilab Zindabad. But towards the end of their rebellion, they had to pay a heavy price for their patriotism. Following the blasts inside the corridors of the assembly, both Bhagat Singh and Batukeshwar Dutt courted arrest. Bhagat Singh was sent to the gallows in Lahore with his fellow comrades, after which he was cremated in Husainiwala on the banks of Satluj.
Welcome back. Startup India scheme has new policies and initiatives to make it easier for investors and startup founders to incubate their ventures in the country. Here's a look at how the scheme has helped and encouraged young entrepreneurs to transform their innovative ideas into profitable business ventures.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Startup India has put India at number 3 in world rankings. Several programs have been undertaken since the launch of the initiative to transform India into a country of job creators instead of job seekers. Startup India is a flagship initiative of the government intended to build a strong ecosystem conducive for the growth of startup businesses.
It is an integral part of Make in India to create employment and also help our youth and other young entrepreneurs that you can do things right here in India. You don't have to be frustrated and you don't have to work for a giant company. You start your own unit. And we have already seen the results. There are so many companies which were startups which have now become huge market forces, huge market capitalization has taken place.
It is a platform that provides opportunities for youth to become industrialists and entrepreneurs. Under this, the government grants funds to people or companies to set up a business and create employment for others. The objective is to help the entrepreneurs who want to build small businesses. A proper guidance on how to run a business as well as a guide to business policies are provided to the entrepreneurs. The government also provides skill development training under the scheme.
Like government is doing a lot for the startups because the contribution of startups in economic growth should continue and increase in the coming times. But still there are few issues related to the infrastructure or some facilitation, single window facilitation, because sometimes the states provide single window facilitation at the larger extent, at the larger cities. But sometimes in small cities, some innovative minds are not able to implement their ideas, and they are not aware about the policy of the government. That is a major point. So government should spread the awareness about this policy at the grassroots level, because sometimes people are very innovative at the village level or block level, but they are not able to know about the process of registration and to get benefits from the dynamic policy environment of the startups.
There are certain criteria on which a company can avail benefits of Startup India. These are: a company must be registered as a private limited company or partnership firm or a limited liability partnership. Business should not be incorporated or registered in India before 5 years. The turnover must be less than 25 crores per year. The business must be operating towards innovating something new or significantly upgrading the existing technology. The particular startup business should not be an outcome of remodeling of an existing business. In order to meet the objectives of the initiative, the government announced the action plan that addresses all aspects of the startup ecosystem. The action plan is based on 3 pillars: simplification and handholding, funding support and incentives, and industry-academia partnership and incubation. A 19-point Startup India action plan has been included, under which the government provides a variety of concessions. It envisages incubation centers, easier patent filing, tax exemptions, ease of setting up businesses, a 10,000 crore rupees corpus fund, and a faster exit mechanism, among others.
Hundreds of projects have now been given loans, huge funding for startups, and recognition, I believe, has been given to nearly 15,000 units so far. So this is all the process of making it easy. This is also the process of ease of doing business. This is one of the aspects of ease of doing business and Make in India. So that's the definite direction is for that. Allow them to do business, allow them to produce, allow them to innovate, and help India grow and do these things in India, not in Silicon Valley or California or somewhere else.
The government has also taken the initiative to involve the industry and education in Startup India. Under this, there is a provision for providing assistance to new entrepreneurs in research and development at national and international levels. It also has special arrangements for women entrepreneurs. These programs have catalyzed the startup culture in India, and many entrepreneurs have availed the benefits of starting their own business in the country. With inputs from Vipul Agarwal, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
With this year coming to a close, everyone is curious about what 2019 holds for us. 2018 saw a number of turnarounds and startup stories. It established that the startup ecosystem in India is gaining acceptance with the emergence of several successful startup stories. That's all we have for you in this edition. We leave you with this report. Thank you for watching.
The interim budget for 2019-2020 will be presented on February 1st. The Indian small and medium enterprises and the micro, small and medium enterprises, together known as startups, hope that the Narendra Modi government will present an investor-friendly budget to help emerging businesses overcome a fund crisis.
The government perhaps has given such an emphasis in the last few years, particularly the last 4 years, startups, innovation, entrepreneurship, and all these budgets have been giving it support, but slowly and gradually we find that the support has been increasing every year, that there's enough money also, there's enough seed money, there's enough other help, assistance at lower interest rates, various things, because government obviously wants to create an ecosystem. Budgetary allotments have been increasing, and more mention is being made of startups in our business papers and government policy papers, and therefore it's opening up. One of the frontiers in the Indian economy is a start.
First among their demands is peer-to-peer lending, a unique platform that lets borrowers and lenders contact each other. P2P platforms are online applications or channels that allows investors to lend money to listed borrowers at a fixed interest rate. If the government makes the investments done through P2P lending tax-free, more investors will join, and this will be a great help, especially for individual borrowers and MSMEs. The second demand is for a solution for angel tax. This will help startups and upcoming founders to attract angel investment without tax implications. The third is tax on investments in startups. The sector warns that the government should make sure that startup funds and investors have a level playing field with other asset classes, more particularly listed companies. The rate of long-term capital gains for such unlisted companies ends at 20%, while the tax rate for listed companies is at 10%. There needs to be a parity between the taxation of listed and unlisted companies. A change in GST rates has also been demanded. They want the government to soften GST rates from the current rate of 18% across the board. The definition of startup was created to offer certain incentives under various laws, including labor laws, company law, income tax law, etc. In order to obtain tax incentives and benefits, the company has to be approved by an authority. If the above benefits are linked to this definition of a startup only and has to go through government approvals, then the benefits are defeated. Startup employees are often in a dilemma as to whether they should exercise their stock options or leave it to be exercised at a later date. This is because there is a clear tax incidence on the employee as soon as he exercises his stock options. In this scenario, the employee will have to pay the tax from his personal pocket even though the employee may not have made any gains. This system of taxation for employees of VC FDI approved investors should be altered to be taxed only at a liquidity event. Like large companies, startups also have to compute taxes under the minimum alternate tax regime even though they may not have real profits.
Over the last few years, 3-4 years, it was really good, and we started in 2015, and now we can see our growth, our colleagues' growth. So it's unfolding really well, and investors are coming in, FDIs are coming in, and ultimately even the skill development is happening. So it is overall boosting up. So now we are able to make more and more robust ecosystems. In startup world as well, in drone ecosystem as well, in other ecosystems as well.
So in India, especially after the Prime Minister's scheme, we've been able to get into a lot of PSUs. Being a young startup, nearly 3 years old, we've been able to work with Apple, so we've been able to work with the nuclear power plants here. So that way I think the ecosystem is growing quite well in this country right now. But the policies are one, the DIP process has actually eased our taxations, GSTs, or even the other registration process with governments. It's been much quicker here. One, we want more taxation benefits for startups. And second, when a startup is competing with a bigger company which is much more established, there should be some sort of policy drafted which supports startups because we need more opportunities and chances, and definitely the government has to support us in this.
They are really doing good. What I would say, they need to provide in terms of help in terms of money, monetary related, more fund, and be open to the new idea where they may have to change a couple of policies.
The startup culture has emerged as a strong contributing factor to the nation's economy by hosting an extremely energetic and niche work culture for the youth. And 2019 is definitely going to be a big year for the startups in our country, with more innovative and fresh young minds coming up with new ideas and ventures. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.